Her shadow had begun to rebel. She first noticed it one day while opening the fridge. Her shadow lagged. Then a week later, while taking a canned drink from the fridge, she noticed her shadow failed to pick up the can's shadow. Her arm's shadow was raised in parallel on the wall, grasping nothing. She knew her journey out of this world, a world in which she did not belong, was beginning. Her body was preparing itself. As a child, she'd grown up without a mother and with a father who longed for his departed wife to the point of madness. Her father said that her mother departed from this world, but was not dead, that she lingered somewhere in a different realm, amongst the incorporeal. Once, when she was 9 years old, she had asked her father what her mother looked like. Imagine a light that was not very bright to the eye, but very, very bright in experience. Then imagine that in that light there was a face. If you look at the face, the body disappears. If you looked at her hands, her face disappears. You can only look at one thing at a time, because our eyes are not built to see her totally. Then imagine that it doesn't really make sense to call her she. Since the day of her shadow's rebellion, she began to feel it radiating a profound tenderness towards her. It did not make any sense even to her, but she knew her shadow rebelled, moved, because it loved her. Once when she visited her father, he had blown up into a terrible temper and moved towards her to intimidate her. She saw behind him that her shadow had reached towards his and pulled it back. She had not noticed this sight until he had abruptly stopped, his face frozen in an expression of malice and his leg poised to take another step. Her shadow's hand was gripping his shadow's head as if it were a warmonger gripping the head of an enemy. More importantly, she could feel it, the shadow's anger. It had history. In the 4th week since her shadow rebelled, she had a dream. She was a fisherman caught in a storm, being whipped in the dark froth of a sea. Her capsized boat groaned before finally snapping in the distance. When she tried to mouth a prayer, she felt herself pulled down viciously by her legs, and water rushed into her open mouth. She had the feeling of being torn apart from herself. She struggled for a long time. As the hours and her energy wore on, she perceived an approaching light, which upon reaching her, peeled her spirit from herself. She turned and saw a face that was not very bright to the eye, but very, very bright in experience. The being before her was stricken with desire and grief. She could tell that the being was female, for she was blindingly beautiful. All her life she had wanted to know a mother's love. Her mother's love, it seemed, was strong enough to transgress the natural laws that ordered that they remain in separate realms. She was willing to pull her daughter to forbidden places. She was willing to let her daughter experience severe suffering, just for a glimpse of her face.